right, everybody, I am back with a brand new movie review. I just got back from watching Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. And this is a movie I have been wanting to watch since they announced that Warner Brothers or DC Studios had picked this film up to distribute it. And it finally got a wide release starting today, but it wasn't as wide a release as I was hoping, and there was really only one theater in my vicinity that was even showing it, and they only had 3 show times. I was hoping it was going to come out yesterday when I had more time to go see it, but I did just get back from seeing it this evening, and I will tell you right off, it is one of my top 3 favorite films of the year. I was very surprised at how well this film was put together. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is, DC Studios distributing the film. There's a lot of controversy behind this. A lot of people think this is just a way to milk Christopher Reeve and his legacy, and it's really not. I do believe that a lot of the money is going to be going to the Dana and Christopher Reeve Foundation, but I'm not sure. I'll have to do some research on that to see where exactly the money is going. Hopefully it's not just all going to DC Studios and Warner Brothers. But what I found interesting is at the beginning when they were showing the credits, it was always probably going to go to DC Studios and Warner Brothers because it was made. You got to remember David Zaslav is in charge of Warner Brothers Discovery, and he's part of CNN and HBO and all of that. And at the beginning, it did say it was a CNN production, CNN documentary production, as well as HBO films, and so it makes sense that it would be picked up by Warner Brothers. So everyone made it a big deal that it was picked up by them, but it was always going to be the logical choice. Now let's talk about this movie. This movie was very surprising. There were some things that I found out, and one thing I was going to pull out for you guys, but because it's so late, I'm not going to pull it out. I will show you guys in my next DC update. My whole history with with DC Comics started with Christopher Reeve as Superman. As a kid, I was infatuated with Christopher Reeve as Superman, especially Superman 2. And I remember going to see Superman 2 in theaters with my dad. And I remember the theater, the smell of the popcorn. I remember the standee of Christopher Reeve there. And to me, Christopher Reeve was and always is going to be Superman. And so he holds a special place in my heart. When they say you're going to believe a man is going to fly, can fly. Those first 2 films were just incredible. And even to this day, I think my favorite scene of any superhero film ever is when Superman reveals himself in this Fortress of Solitude, flies towards the camera and banks off to the side. It is amazing looking. It looks utterly amazing. Even to today's standards, it is probably the coolest looking flight scene ever filmed. It is crazy awesome. And so I didn't really follow Christopher Reeve after his accident because I didn't want to see him that way. I always wanted to remember him as Superman. So a lot of this story for me was new. The only thing I had known outside of seeing this film was that he had passed away, got an infection, and had passed away. That's all I knew about really what had gone on after the accident and what had happened to him. I mean, I knew he was paralyzed. One thing that was shocking to me, too, is how close of a friend Robin Williams was to him. They grew up together. They went to film school together, and they were best friends all through their adult lives. And he was there for a lot of what happened, and it was pretty awesome to see. Now, the way this documentary plays out, it was really cool because you basically had 2 different storylines going on. You had everything from Superman and his accident forward, and then his early career moving forward. So we had kind of 2 parallel storylines that eventually intersected towards the end, and it leaves this emotional impact at the end that at first, things looked real doom and gloom, and then there were some very cool, heroic things that happened towards the end. There were some things that he went through and things he was able to accomplish that I had never heard about. Some things that were very surprising that I'm not really going to talk about in this video, but you're going to want to see it. But what I'll show you guys in the next video, because he was such a big part of my childhood, I remember in third grade, second or third grade, our assignment in grade school, was to write to a celebrity. And for me, that was Christopher Reeve. I wanted a picture of him as Clark Kent signed, and I wanted a picture of him as Superman signed. And I do have 2 photos that came from Christopher Reeve, and it is his signature. It did come from him. Back then, things were very different, and they were actually able to respond to people for those sorts of things. And so I do have something from Christopher Reeve, and it holds a special place in my life. Like I said, I even have a movie magazine that I got in third grade that is in the other room. Maybe I'll do a video on both of those things alone in the coming weeks. Maybe show you guys that magazine and those 2 photos. But you have to understand how important this character was in my life. Now, as from 88 on, obviously I got into Batman. But in my early childhood, it was Superman. And I remember actually having a very thick, hardbound, red-bound book that was just hundreds of pages of old Superman comics that I had picked up at a used bookstore. And that disappeared when I actually moved and got married, and there was a bunch of stuff I lost, and that was one of those things. And so this character is important to me, and this story was very important. And I learned a lot of stuff that I did not know about him, about Dana, his wife, some things that I didn't even know. And you get to learn more about his family and his kids and what happened. So for anybody who is interested in hearing the full story and seeing what happened, not just the Superman stuff, but also his personal life, this movie was very well directed. It was very well cut together. And there were some things that they did throughout the movie. There's basically a caricature of Christopher Reeve, not a caricature, but like a stone digital statue that they use, and they do different things with that statue throughout, depending upon what's happening in the movie. And it was pretty interesting to watch, and the music was really well done too. So if I had to give this out of 5 stars, I do give it 5 stars. It is one of the top 3 films that I have seen this year. There is nothing not to like in the film, and I think if you go see this, you're going to gain some knowledge that you didn't know, and see how important his life was and what his journey and what he went through. And you get to see the bonds of family. And, there were some things that actually really tugged at my heartstrings, because after his accident, I'm not going to say what she said, but Dana had said something to him that basically saved his life. And she became his caretaker, his wife did, in like the craziest sense. And I remember it was selfless love is what it is. And I actually got sick 14 years ago. And I got really sick, like to the point where I was bedridden for 8 weeks, and I was sick for 3 months. And those 8 weeks I was bedridden, my wife took care of me. She never once complained. We had 4 kids, and she had to not only take care of me, but she had to take care of the kids as well. And not once did I ever see her complain. And watching this film brought up a lot of those emotions. And obviously what I went through was nothing like what he went through, but it shows you how important the people are in your lives. And I think the movie did a great job at showing just how strong those family bonds are. And there's some things that are heartbreaking in it. Will Reeve is in there, and there's one statement in there that really got to me when he said it. And that family went through a lot in a very short time frame. So if you're interested in, seeing the whole story and knowing exactly what happened, this movie is the movie to check out. I think it is totally worth it. You'll be entertained. You'll get emotional. It is a 5-star film. It hit on all cylinders. All right, guys, so there's my review. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I don't do that very often. Even the other 2 films that I put up there, as my favorite films of the year, neither one of those is 5 stars. This is probably the only 5-star film that I have seen this year, and yeah, it's good. So you guys should check it out. All right, so there's my review. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you thought down below, and let me know if you guys are going to check it out, and even if you knew that it was out for a wide release. All right, I do appreciate all the support. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you will be notified as I have new videos go up. We'll see you guys on the next one.